shall commence at 7:30. Please stand for our prayer.
As we bow our heads to pray, may each of us thank our Creator for the privilege of living in and serving our community. We ask for wisdom and guidance for any and all decisions. We also ask for the protection of the members of our armed forces, pray for their safe return, and give strength to their loved ones. These we say in thy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do a roll call, please.
Council Chair Mayor Patrick T. Riley.
Here.
Vice Chair Steve Ribbit. Excused.
All excused.
Council members Grant Ball.
Here.
Brian Vale.
Here.
David Scardino.
Here.
Danny White.
Here.
Town Manager Matt Stinnett.
Yes, excused.
Town Attorney Carl Bone.
Here.
Town Planner Todd Mowry.
Here.
I'm the Town Clerk Treasurer Debbie Franklin, and for the record, the Fire Chief Mike Foley and Public Works Director Tom Mallory are also present.
Thank you. Is there any additions to these or changes to the agenda?
Hello.
I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Move on to the attorney's report.
I don't have anything to report on that.
And the sheriff.
Hello.
Ray Osborne.
Hello all. We do not have stats for last month this early on the 2nd. I can email them or we'll show up for your second meeting. I won't have them at that time, so I just showed up tonight to say hello. And we survived the Great Seafood Festival.
Yeah.
So that's going to take, that just tick up everything. So we'll be here at the end of the month with the stats or we'll email it to you either one.
It'll be the 16th. Do you want that the 16th?
What's that?
March 16th
16th.
is the next
Correct.
meeting.
Yeah, we'll have them then.
Okay.
They usually take the 10th or the 12th for us to do.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw your boss down there selling those.
Yeah, that stinky dog. Yeah.
Well, there was food there.
Yeah, that dog's been eating too much. I went to another homeowner's meeting and that dog had like 14 hot dogs. They were feeding that dog. You'd be standing around talking to somebody, next thing you know, the dog chowing on a hot dog. I'm like, oh, man. So, Judy, he's good.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
No major issues in traffic on US 1. It was all well.
And we do a daily pass on. I don't have anything in town that would be like, oh my gosh, that would be something major for y'all. That it's been quiet, not going on.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the boards and committee reports, Trails and Greenwood.
Not tonight.
All right. Well,
We have a little technology.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. That's okay. Anyway, good evening, Mayor, members of council. I just wanted to let you know that we were out on Saturday, the Trails and Greenways Committee, in full force, and we were actually putting up some signs. I will have those, actually, we have those on the web today as far as photographs of what signage we put up in a PowerPoint uploaded to Adobe, so it's kind of you can go kind of a tour on your own. So albeit that we can't see it tonight live, anybody in the council or anyone attending in the audience can go ahead and take a look at what we accomplished on Saturday. And the kind of the interesting thing with it was that we kind of had a problem. You know, we've been looking at all these wonderful things that we want to do, including the 7 items that we turned into the Space Coast TPO, which they tentatively agreed that, maybe it would be a great idea to do 3 of those. Well, we've since gone to Palm Bay, and since that meeting from Palm Bay, we walked away thinking they wouldn't be able to do anything. There is a possibility that they may be able to help us with lab certification on their part to help us kind of get rolling. We'll talk more if that materializes. But what I did want to say is we realized with all the stuff we want to do, we need more volunteers. And we thought, okay, a great way to do more volunteering or get more people would be to, basically want them primarily to help us with something called the ENT, which is the Eagles Nest Trailhead down in South Marie. It's known previously as your northern parcel, one of the 3 parcels for the Public Works area. But that will be the Eagles Nest Trailhead. And to get people there, we thought, you know, we need to have some signs. So we thought, you know what, if we can put up the signs first, then we can point to the signs. It might make it easier for people to go to something that they can find rather than tell them they need to come help build something that doesn't exist in a place that has no signs. So we're really hopeful that this new approach to thinking it out a little bit and doing things is going to help us get a lot more folks out, because it's a bang bang, you know, it's a great thing for the town, for ecotourism, for people to get outside, get some fresh air, get some exercise. So if you're on Marie Street, real quick rundown, north to south, Marie, 1400 Marie Street. At the trailhead, there's 2 big signs, one at the entrance. We relocated some other signs, cleaned up some things at the front, foliage-wise. In the back, coming in from the El Tuttle Trail, the paved trail coming in from Malabar Scrub east, you basically have a similar sign, really identical sign, that lets you know, welcome to the trailhead, because you're coming in from perhaps Palm Bay at that point. Then going south, as you get to the Malabar Marie Street and Malabar Road corner, on the northwest corner, there's now signage attached to our trailhead sign. That signage is back and forward, so it's basically an arrow pointing to Marie Street saying the Sandhill Trailhead is there. There's an arrow on the back of the sign pointing down south on Marie to the future ENT. So in the future, we'll be looking for some other sign on the opposite corner, also on the west side, to see if we may, we're going to try to check with the church. We looked at it, we decided not to attempt anything, but we may try to attach to their sign if we can. If you go further south, Bladder Road, that's the interesting part. That's where the El Tuttle Trail crosses Marie Street, goes towards Oakmont Preserve. And now we have a sign on the northwest corner, and that is basically, again, a back-to-back sign that aims people across the street. On the sign on Oakmont's fence, which we have their permission, we have a sign pointing both ways depending on which way they're going to which trailhead. That identifies the people riding the forest trail that goes in front of the fence and parallels Marie Street. As they get to their front entrance, there's 2 more signs that are vertical, and those 2 tell people which direction is which trailhead. And again, done so as not to take away from their signage or their customization of their landscape. You go further south all the way to basically near the end of their sign, you have one more sign that again is a horizontal sign affixed to the fence, and it basically is pointing to the 2 trailheads. The last sign I'll mention is basically, if you envision stop at Fall Road and you're facing east, it's right there. You may have noticed it if you're there. I'm glad to see it was still there when I took some pictures today. You know, it's still there. But basically that sign is talking about this future trailhead. And really 1,500 feet down that road. And there is going to be slight angle because of the fence and how Eels basically took right away and stuff, or borrowed it, I should say. But basically that's kind of going to be what we're going to reference. We have some other signs that will also, we have pre-purchased, pre-manufactured from MC Graphics across the street. They did a wonderful job. Can't say enough about how well they worked with us. These signs are now coming to fruition. I mean, they've been made for a while, so that's now getting, we finally got clearance from the 811 Sunshine, so we weren't giving up anybody's fiber optic. Everybody should still have TV and internet tonight, because we didn't hit anything as far as we know. But we did check properly before we started the dig. So these are the things that we're doing. We will have another sign also at the Swallowtail Kite Trailhead, which is also known as the North Quarry Trailhead. And that will be a similar sign that's there. Again, some small signs that are going to come in between. We basically used up all the materials. We bought 2 panels of material for the sign. So those are my updates. Any questions?
Have you had any vandalism problems with the signs at all?
Not yet with the signs as far as I know. The only vandalism that I'm aware of happened to the Cameron Trail Shelter, and we had to sand that a couple times. I think that's about it. Generally people kind of, I think they've read the sign on there. It says you destroy it, you lose it. You know, you better respect it if you enjoy it. So people, so far so good. I'll knock on some formica there to hopefully keep that going. But we are anxious to get more signage out. We are developing our volunteer list further. We've got grown quite a bit for various things that we've been on, local events happen in the woods on our trails. We try to grab some names and emails, so we're trying to build as big a following as we can. Again, to get as many people out volunteering as possible. So that is it without pictures. But tune in to metalhearttrails.org and you'll see a link right at the top inserted tonight that's got the Adobe with the 30-something slides.
I saw the one on right there, Hall and Marie,
Uh,
today when we were coming to the office and everything. My wife liked it a lot. She was a little jealous, because it looks good.
We will have further opportunities for her. So I appreciate everybody's support. I want to thank the committee for just putting in what was going to be a half day, what ended up more like 4 o'clock type day. If that happens, we're going to try to, as I said, with more advertising, bring in some more people, spread the opportunity a little bit further.
Then they got recruited after that was quite good.
Yeah, well, we took a wrong turn on the ladder or something, but at any rate, all is well with the trails and greenways. The town should be moving further on that front, so these are good things. Appreciate your continued support.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Park and Rec Board. Planning and zoning. All right, move on to the staff reports, town manager's excuse. I'll go to Tom, our public works director.
Good evening. Matt asked me to come in and fill you in on a few things because he's not here tonight. I did find a grading school that's given by the University of Florida. I don't know what the cost is yet. I don't think we got that price yet, but Malibu is going to host it. So far, Matt's got Brevard County, City of Melbourne, the City of Palm Bay, and the City of Cocoa all signed up to do this. There's about 22 people now. Which will be, it'll be on hands-on training right here, and we'll be working right here in the town using our equipment. So, and I guess it's got some like classroom training too. And it goes from people who've never run the machine before to people who've operated it and figure out your skill level. So it should be pretty good. Right now we're working on fabricating 2 catch basins for Rocky Point to finish the drainage over there in the cul-de-sac. The wires have finally been removed at the west end of that. It only took about 4 years to get them removed. So we're down there cutting down the trees, and we'll go back there and clean out that ditch eventually. And we finished Matthews and Sandy Creek. That's about it. Any questions?
All right. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Move on to Todd.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I want to give you a quick update on an RFQ that we put out. An RFQ, as you're aware, is a request for qualifications. It's different than an RFP, which is a request for proposals. So with an RFQ, this is one where we're not looking at price, but we're following the state guidelines and looking at which type of an engineering firm do we want to hire as it relates to the town stormwater asset management master plan. So it's a big mouthful. We put together an entire process for this. We had 7 engineering firms that responded. We put together a selection committee. That selection committee was comprised of a total of 5 members. We had Roger Walter. Actually, I'll go through the list because Roger's actually here in the audience with us. He's a local member of our community, as well as he is an engineer that provides great assistance. We also had Jeff Rapolte, who is actually with Brevard County. He's their natural resources engineer. We had Mike McCabe, who's with Melbourne Tilburn Water Control District. We had Jennifer Spagnoli, and she's with Melbourne Utilities, and then myself. So we tried to pull together a committee that had a lot of good expertise to be able to sit and help evaluate and look at the proposals that came in. It is a technical area, and because of that, we wanted to make sure that we were really finding someone who would do the right job for the town. For those that responded, they provided us with an RFQ response, and they looked somewhat like this. Each of the different firms provided us with a packet, and they had requirements that they had to provide, such as demonstration of having provided similar water management asset plans, and then getting the specifics of projects. On several areas, you'll find that Some of them may have had a lot of project experience, but they've never actually gone through and looked at doing the master planning work, so that we have a basis to pick up projects from it. So the responses were great. Those firms that applied were, for the most part, all here within sort of a 3-county area. We had a couple of firms that partnered up with some other firms to sort of create a stronger team. And then from that, we went through and had a sort of a pre-selection process. Committee members got together, we evaluated the proposals, and then we made a short list. Of that, we came up with 5 firms, and those 5 firms were then set for an interview. We had them come and interview with them not being able to be present together, so that way one would come and then the next group would come in, nobody was able to see the other's presentation. And then we followed that up with a public open discussion where everybody was able to come and watch, listen together, and the committee members provided their responses and gave feedback. We went through that process and actually came up with a scoring card that we provided to the committee. The scoring card had a point system. They were able to put, based upon their professional experience, their project experience, and various things. And from those total points, each member scored independently, provided those to the town manager added all those points up, and we came up with a list which is in your packet. So you'll see the scoring list provided and a ranking from highest to lowest. And for that ranking, for this, you'll see that Singhoff and Associates, they received the highest with 450 points. Interestingly, Singhoff, they sort of created the model that most stormwater engineers actually utilize and follow. So it wasn't a shock to see that they were actually the top, highest ranked firm, but they also partnered with Applied Ecology, which is a local group that's doing a tremendous amount of work locally, and also with WGI, which is the Wanton Group. They have about 700 employees in the Wanton Group, and so together the 3 of them make a really, really strong team. But from that, the committee recommended that the top 3 firms be recommended to you for projects, because some of the firms, including EDC, their senior project engineer actually lives right here in Country Cove and has a tremendous amount of experience, used to be with the state for many years, has a lot of background in helping with grant work and whatnot, but was just a delightful guy, really related well, and made it hard as we went through this process to sort of figure out what would be best. But it felt like the one group was perfect for doing the master plan, and so we want to recommend that you accept the recommendation for Singhoffen for your master plan engineer, and then that you select the 3 firms, Singhoffen, EDC, and Kimley Horn, for project specific. That would be sort of on a case-by-case basis as we come up with projects, and that could be a year from now or 4 years from now. But it's really sort of a qualification process so that we're not having to go back through that and to try and find somebody to do this work. So it's sort of nice that we're able to take everybody, really narrow things down, and find something that would fit well with the town of Malabar and with sort of the direction that we want to go in, but to make sure that they also have a lot of good understanding of our local community and what our needs are. And professionally, to make sure that we get the type of plan that we want. It's not a Mercedes plan versus something that doesn't really meet our needs. We don't need something that's developed in such an extent that we can't even use it. And we also didn't want a plan that was going to sit on the shelf for use. We wanted to be an active plan. Singhoffen will have a very interactive plan. It's really web-based. It's a great presentation that they have put together. And I wanted Roger to be here as well, that we'd be able to, if you didn't know Roger, you'd be able to have an opportunity to meet him, as well as for him to provide just a minute from his perspective as to how he felt the process went.
Roger Walters, 2395 Quarry Road. I had the honor of sitting on the committee with Todd. It was a very difficult decision because all 5 of the firms were extremely qualified. They all had local experience. They all had a very good depth and breadth of experience, expertise. But we did narrow it down to the top 3, and all of those 3 firms will serve us well in the future. WGI Singhoffen happens to be, in my opinion, one of the premier firms when it comes to what we're looking at doing in the future, which is looking at what we have existing, looking at what we're going to do in the future, and then planning for the future of our community. So we sat down, we looked at all of these
pieces of the puzzle. All of the members sat down and did the voting, and we came up with those top three. Those top three are great. Singh Hoffman will give us a great result. In fact, they came in and they already had a preliminary model developed, which was one of the best reasons to select them. Is they have done an extensive amount of work in the Indian River Lagoon, and they had a model hitched up to their Indian River Lagoon experience, which impressed the heck out of me. They did a great job. The other two firms will be excellent firms to select in the future when it comes to other jobs that come down the road, whether it be continuing services, small projects that we might need to address. All of them are just excellent. So, can't say much more than that. Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Mr. Mayor, we recommend that council take action on Singh Hoffman as the firm for the master plan and the other three firms as our continuing services firms for future projects.
I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
I'll second that.
No, I'll entertain.
Oh, okay. I'll make that motion.
Just, Mr. Mayor, just as an
Hold on. Yes.
No,
Okay.
Yeah, we just want to make sure that whatever the motion is, that it allows the opportunity, we have to go and negotiate the contract now with them. So we want to make sure that the motion includes the fact that subject to successful negotiation.
Do you want me to read it?
Go ahead.
Well, yeah, based on their recommendation, I've got to stick in there the negotiation.
Let me help you out. It would be a motion to approve the ranking and to authorize staff to negotiate a contract with the #1 ranked firm.
Yeah, what you said.
Okay.
So moved. No, you just say so moved.
All right, got first and a second?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion?
Well, on that, going back to what was just brought up, if we've got three firms that are kind of in the running, but we're going to negotiate with one firm for the best price, wouldn't it be better, since negotiations haven't started, to be negotiating with all three firms to see which one shakes it out now on the price side?
You would think that, however, under what's called the Consultants Competitive Negotiation Act, that's what it says we have to do under state law. You don't come into a negotiated contract with the first one, default number 2. So we got to do it one at a time.
Okay, you can't do it simultaneously.
No, sir. Do like an RFP?
Nope.
And what I should say is that each of the firms are aware actually what you've already put aside in your budget. So it's not as though somebody's coming in and expecting to get 3-4 times the amount.
Oh, it's kind of
You
like,
already had budget.
you want your car fixed, how much money did you bring today? Yeah, that'll do it.
Yes.
Ron doesn't do that.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0. Thank you, Tom. Anything else? Chief?
Evening, everybody. For the month of February, we ran a total of 30 calls, 18 EMS, 2 motor vehicles without injury, 3 motor vehicles with injury, 5 public assist, 1 cancellation, 1 unauthorized permit. Also, Lieutenant Riley, Kevin Riley, and myself went to a large animal technical rescue course for the University of Florida. We passed. So that gives us 5 members of our department now that can do that. What I'd like to do, if anybody in the audience has large animals, I'd like to know who your veterinarian is. So if we have an issue, I already have a list, and I'm starting a list. You can come by the fire station, email me, leave it here at Town Hall, and I'll get back in touch with you. So I'm putting that out to the residents of Malabar. If you have a large animal veterinarian, I'd like to get the information. I'll do all the talking, speaking to them, or her, and let them know what we need. So that's that. Also, our AFG grant opens up on the 27th of this month. We're putting in for it, so let's hope we get that. And I attended 2 more classes regarding large animal. One was agriculture, food and disaster. for livestock, and the other one was another animal large rescue with the Distribution of Emergency Services. So, and I have 5 more classes. The pancake breakfast, next Saturday, the 14th. Please, everybody come. Yes, sir. Okay.
Address the council.
Yes, sir. The 14th. Saturday, pancake breakfast. Please, everybody come. So, any questions?
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
If you're doing a rescue of a person who's extremely large, do we have provisions for that?
Yes, sir, we do. Yes, sir, we do. The large animal, 600 pounds and up. That's what.
I'm thinking a person.
Yes, we have from normal persons up to 600 pounds.
600 pounds.
Yes, sir. We can go from there and up. Yes, sir, we do. Any other questions?
Was your question, do they have lift assist? Are you talking about what?
No, I was just curious what was your provision, because I know that, there's some people that could be very large.
Yes, we have exactly, and we'll call in for additional manpower and equipment if we don't have it, like Palm Bay, Brevard County has that, and the stretchers. The normal ambulance only covers up to 400 pounds, so they will call another ambulance specific with a large stretcher. So, yes, sir.
But this is assist, not animal control.
This is, well,
So when Frank's pig is in my yard again, I don't call you.
no, sir, no.
Okay.
If Frank's pig winds up in your pool or your,
Then I call you.
then you call me, okay? But yes, anything from goats on up is what they're considering for large animal livestock. So, and I'm really proud to say that, there's a lot more than I thought it was. And the animals are number one when it comes to this. They had one that was the angry horse lady. She really made it miserable for all of us. She was right in the middle of it, knocking us over, calling us everything in the book, stopping the rest. Oh yeah, the University of Florida put on really an excellent class. I am going to try to get that at the town of Malabar. It's costly, so I'm going to try doing fundraisers. It costs us $10,000 to have the class come in. So we're going to try to get the fundraisers and have that, and actually have the class right at the town of Malabar Fire Department. And it'll be open up for everybody. So, any other questions?
Just out of curiosity,
Yes.
Chief, how often do you not be able to respond to an animal assist?
We've been fortunate none, but I want to be prepared so when it does happen, we're ready. Brevard County Animal Services has a trailer. It's on Sonora Road. Melbourne also has a team, and Brevard County has a team. So we're all working together with all those agencies to put our name on that list. So if they can't respond, we can now respond. So, but yeah, we're trying to keep it ahead of everybody.
I had one quick question about a fire hazard. That pile of mulch out there?
Yes.
That's like a tinderbox. You just drop a match in there and there'd be a giant fire.
And I see that they're actually removing that. I was asking Tom today, are we doing it or they are, and they're doing that.
Okay.
So I will be addressing that tomorrow. It used to be a big pile before it was,
It's getting bigger, it looks.
it's actually leaving, it's smaller, it's smaller.
Okay.
Now, the other pile that bothers me is across the street. That's the new pile that they just put in. So I will be addressing that with them in the next couple of days. So, yeah, they mulched that up. Before it was just hard wood that they cut and left.
Right, but that's like
Oh, yes,
that'd
yes.
be a pretty big fire.
And if that ever goes up, I have Brevard County Tender 87, Palm Bay Tender 4, Tender 5, Tender 99, and also Melbourne's 2 trucks. That's already a game plan I have for this when I saw it. So, we have to be ahead of the game. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Chief.
I hope to see you all on Saturday the 14th for pancake breakfast. Thank you everybody for your support that came the last time. Thank you.
All right, Debbie?
The chief stole my thunder.
Sorry, I forgot the last time. I got you this time.
Yeah. Okay, I had nothing.
Sorry.
We have no public comment cards, so we'll move on to our public hearings. Our first one is ordinance 2020-02, amend Article 3 District Provisions, Table 1-3.2. Please read by title only.
An ordinance of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, providing for amendment to Table 1-3.2 and Article 3 of the Land Development Code providing for findings, providing for trades and services in commercial general CG zoning to be permitted use instead of a conditional use, providing for the addition of Garden and Pine Streets to the footnote where these uses are allowed, providing for codification and repeal of ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. I'll open up the public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Close the public hearing. Does staff have any further inputs for this agenda item?
Nothing other than what I submitted in the agenda report.
Then I'll entertain a motion for the approval of ordinance 2020-02.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Ball.
Aye.
Councilmember Vale.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivet is excused. Councilmember Scardino.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
Thank you. All right, move on to action on road improvement waiver request, Rivet Lane. Please read by title only.
This was a request for a waiver to the road improvement requirements in Chapter 13 of the Malabar Code of Ordinances regarding the north end of Rivet Lane in Section 1, Township 29, Range 37, within the town of Malabar. The request by Chris and Nicole Wilkerson to build the road short. And as I stated in the agenda report, they're asking for a 3-foot waiver to the width and approximately 175 feet waiver to the distance. And can I have one more minute?
Go ahead.
All right. We had advertised this as a public hearing because when we brought this back to council and said we need to get the variance language back into the code, and council granted us that, that's what we did. We put the variance language back into the code and changed the name to waiver. So when it was a variance, it was quasi-judicial and needed to go to the Board of Adjustment, thus requiring a public hearing. As a waiver, it's a legislative action that's clearly in your authority, realm of authority, and I've run all this by Carl, so he knows what I'm saying. So the public hearing and public advertising really aren't a requirement. Was done in this case. We still had the significant expenses because we had the attorney review it and we had our engineer, professional engineer review it. So I'm still comfortable and confident in the amount that I have put into the application fee, but the formal need for a public hearing really isn't going to be a requirement, and we'll probably be revising that section of the code.
Thank you. I'll open up the public hearing. Anyone from the public wish to speak on this matter? Close the public hearing. Does staff have any further input?
Our engineer has provided a drawing where it could reflect the stormwater on the east side of the 25-foot area that they're going to be working in. And there has been no comments made from any of the other property owners. I did have a statement I was supposed to read into the record from Councilmember Rivet, who's out of the country, and unfortunately I didn't pre-type it, but he said he supports it 100%. I can pull up my email. Let me see. Where was he? Okay.
That's okay.
Both my position as District 3 council member and as the nearest residents to the development on their property, I fully support the Wilkerson's request for waiver. There is no public interest served by requiring the road to be built to the end of their property as the easement moves right away. Does not continue past the end of their property. As we are all aware, developing properties, including the building of roads, entails environmental impact versus leaving the properties wild. While we can accept some environmental impact as unavoidable, it is desirable to minimize that impact. Requiring only the necessary length of road to be built is one way to minimize the impact, and I'm asking the rest of the council to support the waiver request.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the waiver request.
I'll make the motion.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I've got some questions.
Okay, go ahead, Grant.
My question is mainly for the fire chief. When we're narrowing the road and we don't have a turnaround at the end of it, how does that impact you since they're planning, I'm assuming, to build homes there?
I have to take a look at the road and see how we're narrowing it down, but it does impact our response.
I didn't think we were narrowing it down.
They're 18 feet.
We aren't narrowing down the existing road,
Right.
and this is what was
Where
brought
we're
to you.
The existing road is 11 foot,
Exactly.
and they're gonna do 15 foot.
But can we turn a fire truck around at the end of this without either a cul-de-sac or?
We can't do it
You
now.
can't do it.
There's a lot we have to back into or back up a bit from,
Exactly.
so.
Does it set a precedent on other roads if we allow this one to be? I don't have a problem not going the full length of this property, but I'm not sure that I like having it narrow.
I think each of these cases will be determined on their own merit. I had a really big issue with short roads in Palomar. And I've spoke up from the podium and from this chair many times regarding that. This particular issue, it's a dead-end road, and it continues no more. It dead ends right there. The problem with the road abandoned, short roads before, they would inhibit the next person's ability to build. In this case, there is no next person.
And also, from what I understand, the west side of Rivet Lane, there's no right of way there, and which has restricted the width of the road from the get-go.
It's
Correct.
a 25-footer, correct?
Right.
The west side never dedicated right away.
And so that's what we're dealing with being so narrow to begin with, you know, so.
And I did have discussions with David pertaining to the drainage. We really need to enforce our drainage on new development, that the drainage is brought to the town's drainage system, the edge of the road. And that discussion was had, and I was reassured that the drainage would be routed to the
The end of
town's
the
ditch.
property?
The end of the, actually the end of the road.
But we're building the road short for the property.
Yeah, and they will route their drainage to the end of the short road. That was the questions I had, and I also discussed with her fee structure. I said, we don't need to be making money, but we don't need to be losing money. And she did all the homework, and the fee structure is adequate to cover cost of staff.
And that issue with the drainage, which is understandable, will that be handled in the permit process? Where it's-
Yes,
Yeah,
when
it's in
a
writing.
single-family home is laid out on the site plan, they have to show which way their pre-construction and post-construction, where the water from that construction site is gonna,
In other words, this isn't a handshake deal.
it-
so-
no, every house has to do this. And if it's in a subdivision that's got a pre-platted out stormwater system, then they have to show us a design that matches what was approved by council in the final plat. If it's one house, at each house as they come along, they have to show that the water in the front goes to the ditch, if there is a ditch existing, and the water in the back typically goes to a pond. But this is way before that. Right now, there's a ditch on the east side. The edge of the existing road, if it were to be within the entire 25-foot right-of-way, would be the center line of the improved road, once the west side ever dedicates their 25 feet. And then it would be crowned, and we'd have a ditch on both sides. Right now, we can only put the ditch on the east side, where the existing ditch already is.
Where the existing other improvements already are. So
Correct.
It covers that.
If I may, so we're not decreasing the road, we're widening it, or we're stopping.
Correct.
Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, at the road workshop that we brought, we added a column right next to the street name and actually put what you have right now. Remember, we asked you guys to consider, do you really need 60 feet wide right-of-ways when in town, most of your streets,
A two-trip.
now, Rivet is unique because the houses are only on one side and you only have 3 of them. But on houses where you have homes on both sides, you typically have 17 feet, maybe. okay, you're still supposed to have 22 feet. We don't have 22 feet. I think we've got 2 streets that have 22 feet. I'll give you another copy of the accepted street list. I'm talking local lanes, okay? And Smith is one of them. That's one of the things we've had shoe workshop, we still need to come back to you and ask you to resolve this, because what we're proposing is, when there's only a half of a right-of-way been given, let them build in 25 feet, knowing that if we ever get the other half, they're gonna have to build in a 50-foot wide right-of-way. But that's another subject.
So any other discussion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Ball.
Aye.
Councilmember Vale.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivet is excused. Councilmember Scardino.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move on to action on notice, reconsider appointment of Charles Ryan to Board of Adjustment. This isn't a public hearing, as say, this is a hearing held at a public event. So there's different rules, and so the process will be, as chairman of town council, I will present the charters and provide the evidence to council. I will excuse myself from voting on this agenda item 10.c. I will then open the proceedings and pass the gavel while I'm at the podium. At the podium, I will present the charters, provide the evidence, and take any questions from council. At the podium, Mr. Ryan or his representative can then ask me questions. I will take the gavel back as chairman of the council. I will ask if anyone who has relevant evidence or testimony to support the charge may speak at the podium. There will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. Mr. Ryan or his representative can then present the evidence in rebuttal or mitigation of the supporting evidence. Town council will then ask Mr. Ryan or his representative questions. I will ask if anyone who has relevant evidence or testimony to support the defense may speak at the podium. There will be 3 minutes time limit duration for each speaker. I will then close the proceedings and bring it back to council. Council will make a motion, second, and then discussion, and then vote. So the public cards that you filled out, you will figure out which part of the you want to present for or against the charges. So you will present it at that time.
Does Mr. Ryan or his representatives have any?
No.
Not yet?
We're at number 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is the letter that was Mr. Ryan. Mr. Ryan was sent a certified letter of his charges of this hearing by mail on February 25th, 2020 to his residence address. Mr. Ryan was sent a postal letter of his charges of this hearing by mail on February 26, 2020 to his residential address, along with a copy of tonight's agenda. The letter states, Charles Ryan, 1823 Howell Lane, Malabar, Florida 32950. Mr. Ryan, council will consider taking action on your recent appointment to the Board of Adjustment per Resolution 22-2019 dated November 18, 2019 at the regular town council meeting on March 2nd, 2020. Since the Board of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial board, impartial and unbiased hearings are imperative. Your recent behavior has raised the question of your ability to be impartial and unbiased. Malabar Town Code Section 2-211 Subsection A states, all appointments are within the sole and absolute discretion of town council. Malabar Town Code Section 2-211, subsection B states, any member may be removed from office for cause by the town council upon written charge and a public hearing. The charge is as follows. On January 7, 2020, you were driving a vehicle with a passenger stopped at 905 Highway 1, Malabar, Florida. Your passenger, Don Danielson, was trespassed by Brevard County Sheriff's Department for an incident on that property. The location of the Yellow Dog Cafe on that day. On January 8, 2020, you were trespassed by Brevard County Sheriff's Department for doing a burnout in your vehicle on the new asphalt at the same address. It is alleged that Mr. Ryan committed an act or acts of malfeasance, misfeasance, and/or violated the town code of conduct. Code of conduct provides in part, I will avoid, number one, I will avoid conflicts of interest and avoid using my official position for personal, professional, or partisan gain. 2, I will demonstrate dignity, respect, and courtesy towards those whom I am in contact with my capacity as an appointed board or committee member. I will refrain from intimidation and ridicule of fellow board and committee members, town council members, town administrator, town attorney, staff, citizens of the town, members of the public, vendors of the town, and those conducting business within the town. 3, I will focus on solving problems. I will maintain appropriate decorum and professional demeanor in the conduct of a town business and work cooperatively and consistently with others as I request or receive information, examine date, or weight alternatives in the decision-making process. Number 4, I will respect diversity and encourage an open expression for divergent ideas and opinions from fellow board and committee members, town council members, town administrator, town attorneys, staff, citizens of the town, members of the public, vendors of the town, and those conducting business within the town. Number 5, I will refrain from any individual action that could compromise lawfully authorized decisions of the town or the integrity of the town and my fellow board and committee members. I will delineate clearly for any audience whether I am acting or speaking as an individual citizen or in my capacity as a town board or committee member. Number 6, I will abide by the laws of the state applicable to my conduct as a member of the town council, including but not limited to the government in the Sunshine Law, the Florida Public Records Law, the Florida Code of Ethics for public officers, the town rules and procedures, and code of conduct. Number 7, I will be accountable to the town council for violations to the code of conduct. I will now present the evidence. Exhibit A, Mr. Ryan's Board of Adjustment applicant certification signed November 4th, 2019, and it is in your packet. And that states, if appointed by a committee or board, I acknowledge that it is my obligation and duty to comply with the following: Malabar Code of Conduct, Code of Ethics for Public Officials, Florida Statute, Chapter 112, Part 3, Florida Sunshine Law, Florida Statute, Chapter 286. Exhibit B, Brevard County Sheriff's Office Incident Report dated 1/7/2019. Ms. Dawn Danielson trespassed at the Yellow Dog Cafe located in Malabar, Florida. Exhibit C, photograph taken from a video camera showing Ms. Dawn Danielson along with a light-colored newer model Ford Mustang at the Yellow Dog Cafe located in Malabar, Florida. Mr. Ryan owns a silver-colored newer model Ford Mustang. Exhibit D, Brevard County Sheriff's Office Incident Report dated 1/8/2019. Mr. Charles Ryan trespass warning at the Yellow Dog Cafe located in Malabar, Florida. Exhibit E, photograph taken from a video camera showing the tire marks that were left in a burnout on a newly paved parking lot at the Yellow Dog Cafe located in Malabar, Florida. Exhibit F, an email sent by Mr. Ryan dated November 3rd, 2010 to Nancy Borton after she lost her election to council, stating that, I quote, "A great victory for Malabar. Try to be gracious in defeat. The people have spoken, and now finally you have a clear message. I will do all I can to make you pay for the monthly charge on your ill-gotten streetlight. I hope every time it comes on, you'll be reminded of that. Among other things, cost you. Maybe I'll see you at some council meetings, Bud Ryan." I'll take any questions on the evidence from Mr. Ryan.
I don't have any copies of what you just handed out.
Thank you.
Did you say please?
I'm not finished.
From Mr. Ryan only.
I'm not finished, Pat.
Do you have an
I got an extra. He can have mine. He can have, I'm sorry.
I don't have one. so
Okay,
at
well,
some point I'll
I'll take
do
it.
one.
Okay.
Here you go.
Into evidence, and it was sworn.
You want me to go up there or stay?
Yes. Yeah, there's direct questions to me.
Okay, who provided the photographs and were they sworn?
Town staff.
Okay, that's strange, because I have photographs and they don't show skin.
I'm sorry?
I say, I have photographs and they don't show skin. The other thing too is, hold on,
I'm sorry?
is that better? Okay. Also, this was misdirected. My address is 1923 Howell Lane. This says 1823. The only three people that know, well, I'm supposed to ask questions, right?
Just,
Okay,
you
I'll-
can
I'll
only
just-
ask me questions
I'll ask
about the
you
evidence.
questions. Okay. Did anybody look into the other side of this possibility? Because the only thing apparently here is Mr. Borton's version of what happened.
I'm just the evidence that was presented.
But nobody tried to verify what he said happened.
No one tried to verify what?
What he said, what he claims, which is the basis of this notice of hearing.
I did not verify it. I'm going by what staff provided me.
Okay, well, because of that, today I sent a public records report with about 6 parts. I assume the town clerk has seen it.
You sent questions, you didn't ask for
Okay, yeah.
public record.
Well,
There's no record I could provide, but yes, I got an email, actually got 2 of them.
I asked for the names of the people. I can read it, but I should say this. This is not a question. Okay. What else is there? These. Okay. Let's see the photograph of the school. This doesn't look like anything.
Well, keep going.
Those are tire tracks, they're not skid marks. And I don't see anything that shows that this was on his property.
to the last page.
I did.
Should be one more.
Right here?
Yeah.
What, wasn't I supposed to comment on that?
So no, that's part of the evidence.
Why?
It's just part of the evidence.
Why? Okay, explain the relevance of this.
It shows your impartial and unbiased nature, I guess.
Not important.
But it's the evidence. It's the evidence.
It has nothing to do with this act, nothing. It's an attempt to discredit me, is what it is. Why have it? And is there anything here that isn't true? No,
I'm just
not
providing
at all.
the evidence.
Not at all. It just wasn't the nicest message I could have sent, and I did apologize. And it didn't affect her in any way. And it did no harm to her whatsoever. I guess that's the only questions I have. I'll really go into it when I have a chance.
At this point, is there anyone in the audience who would provide testimony or evidence in support of the charge?
Yeah,
I have an email from Councilmember Rivet, if you want
Yeah,
to read it.
it's the next thing.
Surprise, surprise.
Does anyone who has relevant evidence or testimony to support the charge may speak at the podium? And we have an email from Steve Rivet.
Do you want me to read it?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry, I thought somebody was coming to the podium. A position on one of our town's boards comes with responsibilities to be sober, impartial, and public-spirited. Mr. Ryan's recent actions have clearly demonstrated that he does not possess those qualities. His actions constitute vandalism against Malabar business owners. He is willing to commit this type of action. He has demonstrated personal bias against that business, shown that he is not capable of mature, sober judgment, indicated a willingness to commit illegal acts against residents he does not like, and a willingness to violate guidelines he agreed to when he was appointed to the board. It also demonstrates vindictiveness and mean-spirited behavior. This is not the first evidence of bias against the owners of Yellow Dog, and it cannot be ignored. His actions can be used as evidence of bias, rendering any decision by the board to be challenged. Mr. Ryan has proved himself a liability to the board and to the town. And it is the responsibility of the members of this council to immediately remove him from the board and to disallow him to serve in any official capacity with the town at any time in the future. Regards, Steve Rivet.
Okay.
If I might.
Go ahead.
That's really more or less summation as opposed to evidence. It doesn't appear to be anything that corroborates or firsthand knowledge. So I don't know that it's evidence, but it's Mr. Rivet's position, so it shouldn't be considered as evidence in support of the charge. Okay? But that's his position, that's his summation. If he was sitting here, that's what he was saying.
All right, anyone else for support of the charge? Okay, Mr. Ryan can present the evidence in rebuttal or mitigation of the supporting evidence. So Mr. Ryan, please come to the podium.
Good evening. Anybody remember the name Oak Colburn? Does that ring a bell with anybody?
I can't hear you, but I'm sorry.
Okay. How about this? Is that better? Does anybody, is the name Oak Colburn familiar to anybody? Okay. I'll clue you in. He was the chauffeur in driving Miss Daisy. And that was my role with Joan Daniels. I gave her a ride, period. Now, what happened is I got a call from her. She wanted a ride to the Yellow Dog Cafe because she heard that they were doing paving, and she had some question as to whether it was legal or not. So I picked her up, and I took her there. Now, what transpired after that is what Miss Danielson is going to tell you, not never got out of the car. I parked south of the last cone that was set aside for paving. And when I left, I did not run into that cone. I went around it and got back on US 1. Now, after Ms. Danielson was talking to somebody there, she'll tell you about that, she came running back in her, well, I would say running back, which is her best version of a run. And it alarmed me because following her was Mr. Gordon. And apparently he was videotaping everything with his cell phone. Now, why that isn't here, I don't know, because it would show some pretty strange things. But nonetheless, she gets in the car and she says, let's get out of here. And in the meantime, Mr. Gordon keeps heading towards me. I waited for a break in the traffic. It was northbound on US 1, and as soon as I had an option, I took off and went, because there was cars coming, and I definitely didn't want Mr. Gordon anywhere near me. And in the process, I may have, but I don't think I did, I might have left skid marks. I know I raised a cloud of dust, because I was in sand, and I was trying to get into that braking traffic, and that's exactly what happened. So then I continued on US 1, made a U-turn further up to come back southbound on US 1, drop Danielson off, and we go home. Well, we get to the crosswalk that has all the warning signs and everything for yellow dog, and there's Mr. Gordon standing in the crosswalk with his cell phone, taping me as I approach him. And I said, I can't believe this. So I stopped before I hit him, and then I started backing up. And he starts following me with his camera, taping this for some reason. And he was blocking US 1 traffic. He was no longer in the crosswalk. And it just was bizarre behavior. So I finally was able to get around him, and I went home, dropped Dawn off, and I thought that was it. Strange stuff. But it turns out that 2 days later, I get a visit from a sheriff's deputy. I don't know if you've ever been unexpectedly visited by a sheriff's deputy, but they can be quite intimidating. And he says, I have a warning of a trespass. And he didn't go into that much explanation. I wasn't aware that I didn't have to sign it. I went ahead and signed it, because he's the boss. Well, I have since found out that you can trespass anybody without reason at any time. I could trespass Grant Hall if I wanted. And that's the way the law is. So don't put any value in the fact that either Dawn Danielson or I were trespassed. There does not have to be a reason, period. So now we're dealing with a situation with a lot of complications. There really was no burnout there. If there's tire tracks left, I didn't see them, and I have photographs that don't show. And that photograph shows the last cone for the paving, beyond which it was not paved. And there's nothing on the street. Where tire tracks, and some of that stuff is not skid marks, it's tire tracks. And that was probably taken when I was in the sand. But like I said, I never did get out of the car. I was never at 905 US 1, which is Yellow Dog Cafe. And I certainly wasn't at 950 US 1, which is a commercial warehouse, which is also Mr. Gordon's residence. A burnout, by the way, I had a legal opinion, and it's not considered, it's not even considered reckless driving. In fact, that's what happened. It didn't happen. There was, by definition, no malfeasance, misfeasance, or violation of the town's code of conduct on my part. In fact, I generally expose things like that. I don't do that. Like I said, there's only 3 people that were involved in this, to my knowledge. You heard from one of them. Now you're hearing from the other side. And all actions reported are Mr. Gordon's version of events, and unfortunately that's what the town used to come up with this hearing. The fact is that those things are not true. misfeasance, if you know what it is inappropriate action or failure to act. Malfeasance is unlawful act in performance of one's duties. I might say that I was certainly not acting in any capacity for the town whatsoever at the time. So this stuff all goes out the door. What I really want is for me to be made whole again, which is for Mr. Gordon to rescind that trespass because it was done wrong. And then secondly, for me to be not only appointed, which is what it was, but to be sworn in. And I found it rather odd that I was appointed the 18th of November at a council meeting, 3-0, which was the majority vote. And several times since then, I said, when am I going to be sworn in? Because I wanted to make sure that happened before the next board of adjustment. And I never got an answer. And then all of a sudden, this hearing comes up. So there's something wrong here. Not only that, but the date of the letter that was sent, the notice, was the 18th of November. I'm sorry, that was the 19th of February. That's the date of the letter. It didn't hit the mails until the 25th. Why sit on it for 6 days? It makes no sense. There must have been some reason. But at any rate, I have made a request for who drew the thing up, who authorized everything. There's about 6 things that I asked for, names. Because the notice isn't even signed. You have no idea who sent it or why. So this whole thing just doesn't make any sense at all. But I know one thing, not being able to serve on Board of Adjustment is an excuse by the members. And there's a big difference. So like I said, I just want to be made whole again, restore me to my situation before. I am interested in serving on the Board of Adjustment, that's why I offer to do it. And I personally think that if you're missing out on somebody that has a lot of prior experience, my resume will show. And that's pretty much it. I'll leave it to John Danielson to cover it.
Not yet. All right, does council have any questions for Mr. Ryan?
Well, the email that you sent 10 years ago, pretty hateful.
Well, it's a matter of interpretation, isn't it? This was policy.
Sounds
This was the
pretty
end of
hateful.
a really hard-fought campaign on both sides. The mayor, Carl Beatty, is the one that prevailed.
When you say, I will do all I can to make you pay, that sounds
For what?
pretty threatening.
For what?
I don't know.
Well,
That
well,
sounds
look,
pretty
It
angry.
says in the letter.
But to me, it demonstrates that you have a real issue.
I'll have a different opinion on that. We'll just have to leave it again. We'll have to agree to disagree. All right?
Grant?
I got a couple questions. I don't know which side they need to go to, but I'll ask to you. Was there any damage done?
No.
I mean, if you accelerate fast to get on US 1, you can spin your tires. As I remember that paving, they covered it with sand
Yeah.
before they finished the paving, which means it's even more likely that if you accelerate fast, you would slide in the sand on the new paving. But there was no damage done, right?
There was no.
I kind of got to ask
That's
both.
true. Debbie, was there any? You don't know?
Nobody?
I was out of town.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't, unless somebody can show me damage done, because that shows me tire tracks in sand and asphalt and if the tires bark and bark.
Okay.
A burnout to me is you hold on the brake, you accelerate hard until smoke's boiling off the back wheels, and then you let off the front brake. That's what a burnout is, right? We've all watched NASCAR, we know what burnouts are. So I gotta ask that. And then we've had an issue right now. And there was passion on both sides of this issue.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say that there was passion on the side of Don Danielson and a council member we decided we would do nothing to that council member who probably violated our code in the same manner.
No shit.
That's what I'm wrestling with. I see some non-adult behavior or some bad boy stuff, but I don't see anything then and I don't see anything now that raises to the level of discipline.
Is this what we want to do for our business owners?
Can we
Speak up.
Let me just suggest that right now we're focusing on what Bud has brought up and the
Correct.
question. All this is relevant during your discussion at the end, and that's, I just don't want this to run
Okay.
foul.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's correct.
Can I ask a question?
Yo,
How long were you there?
Oh, probably, I don't know, if I
I'll
wanted
answer
to
that.
have the time, I would, but I would say 5, 10 minutes at the most. It was long enough for me to drop her off, and then I went around and came back, and I parked south of the last cone. And when I left and I went around that cone, so I could not have gone into his new bank.
When you went there, the purpose was because you thought they were doing illegal asphalting?
Well, this is what Dawn Daniels said the purpose of the trip was. All I was a show. I did pass no judgment on what was going on whatsoever. All I did was drive and park, and then they end up being accused of something. Period. And never got out of the car. So
Any
that's
other
all I should
questions
know.
for Mr. Ryan?
Okay, this, first of all, Mr. Attorney, is this last letter from 2010, the email, relevant to this?
let me say this. Don't base your decision solely on this letter. You know, don't do that. If you think this letter supports some of the other evidence which was presented concerning the incident, then you can consider it. Do not use this letter as the sole basis for your determination.
This letter is presented to council for us as evidence.
10 years old.
I'll take the question, with this in mind, previous feelings, election, politics, the words you mentioned earlier, would you be able to make an impartial decision if the property owners came forward to the Board of Adjustments with a request?
Yes, that's why I offered to go on the board. I had over 10 years of experience on planning and zoning. I've been on a lot of other boards, citizens budget review and all that kind of stuff. And I think they'd be hard pressed to find somebody with qualifications, and I'm willing to do it, even after all this.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I'll ask anyone who has relevant evidence or testimony to support the defense may speak at the podium. I have a card from Don Danielson.
First, I would like to address Mr. White. The letter said, pay for the electric light that Malabar is now paying for. That's what he said to pay for, was the electric light that Malabar pays for in front of the Yellow Dog. It wasn't that he was gonna make her pay, it was gonna make her pay for the light that's lighting the street in front of their place, just to clarify that. On January 7th at 12:08, this is my Verizon bill, 12:08, I called Bud and I asked him to take me down to Town Hall to speak to Matt Stennett. Bud has always been a gracious, wonderful neighbor, willing to do anything for anybody. He agreed to do that. Once I got in the car, I asked him if we could swing around past Yellow Dog, so I was up to date on what was happening there before I spoke to Mr. Stennett. When we came around the curve toward the Yellow Dog, I saw Richard's paving truck there. At that point, I asked Bud, would you kindly pull over so I can get out of the car? He obliged me. I suggested that he go up and make a U-turn and come back, and I would get in his car then. I was out of the car when any incident happened. There was, in my humble opinion, no incident. I had a conversation about paving with Richards Paving. And at that point, Mr. Borton came out with his camera and he was running at me, and it was my personal feeling that if the camera had been a gun, I might not be here talking to you guys today. His body language and his facial expression were horribly intimidating, and so I ran back to Bud's car and got in and said, let's go, and we left. Bud had absolutely nothing to do with my conversation with with Richards Paving. There was no damage done, and if you look at this map, which was supplied with the permit 399 application by the Bortons, okay, if you will look at this, there are two from the edge of the street. This is his 250.3, that's where the yellow dog is. And this is his 250.4, that's where the CP, Coastal Preserve, is. If you look at the west side of the Coastal Preserve, there's an 18-foot right-of-way that says it's per the legal description, and there's an additional 15-foot right-of-way that says it's per the right-of-way map by FDOT. So, I was down here in this lower 18 feet, this westernmost 18 feet, which is where Richards Paving truck was. We were not on Borton property in any way, shape, manner, or form. And I really am sad that somebody is going to railroad Bud out of Board of Adjustment on absolutely false behavior. Bud did not do any mean-spirited data. He did no burnout. He performed no illegal act. He did no damage. He was a good neighbor and gave me a ride. Thank you very much for your time.
Anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry, Skip.
Good evening, Skip Hard, 2560 Hard Lane. We have talked about the central issue here, and yet we have not talked about it. The central issue is whether or not Bud is going to serve on the Board of Adjustment. Now, what does the Board of Adjustment do, guys? It's a court of last appeal for someone who wants a variance or anything else on their property, right? I submit that Mr. Borton is wanting to load that Board of Adjustment with people that support him. And he's convinced that Mr. Ryan does not.
It's not relevant to the charge.
You gotta have,
Okay,
talk to the evidence.
all right. Who made the photos that you submitted as evidence?
Say that again.
Who made the photos?
I received the photos from town staff.
Okay. And you accepted them as evidence, right? And you admitted them as evidence.
Correct, from Stuart Borton, most likely.
What we have is a situation of he said, she said. Borton said something, and you guys are ready to railroad Bud off of the Board of Adjustment.
That's the way I see it.
Anybody can have anybody else issued a warrant for trespass. I think that's been discussed. You don't have to have a reason. You don't have to have anything at all, okay? So the fact that this guy has got a trespass against Don and Bud shouldn't have any relevance at all against your, towards your decision.
It means nothing.
All right. Also, Mr. Ribbett, who has submitted an email supporting the Bortons, he has always supported the Bortons, and he and Mr. White were the staunch defenders of the Bortons.
Stay on the evidence.
Pardon me?
Stay on the evidence.
I've already said that Mr. Rivet's test is not evidence, it's just his feelings.
Oh, okay.
It's not evidence.
All right, all right. Well, I submit that the real reason that this entire thing took place was because Borton is looking to appeal to the Board of Adjustment, all right? And I also suggested our building inspector be advised that Mr. Borton has paved more than his paving permit allowed. He was only supposed to repave a previously paved section. That's it. Have you guys got any questions?
Anyone else? Excuse me. Okay, I will close the. I will close the proceedings. Good for you. State your name and address for the.
Yeah, Jose Marino, 1720 Benjamin Road. This is really a shame that you gotta go through all this trouble to accuse a man who had done nothing wrong, and yet, when charges was brought against somebody else, you guys blew it off, you didn't have any comments to make about it. Really a shame.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I want to make something clear. It's not the town council bringing the charge, okay? The charge has been made. They're just going to sit and judge the evidence. That's all they're going to do, okay? Nobody knows how they're going to vote, so it's just a function of what the council believes.
Isn't Mr. Vine allowed to face his accuser?
He has. Who
Your
is it?
counsel is accusing him?
The council is not accusing him.
Well, he hasn't faced anything.
Where is he? Where's the accuser?
All right, go, Don.
I would like to point out that you charged Bud with having me hit in his car. Excuse me. Couldn't he have any
That's
one
enough.
of you in his car?
Thank you.
That's nothing to be charged about.
All right, thank you. All
One
right,
thing,
I will entertain a motion.
Pat, one thing,
That be done.
Yes.
I'd like to say that the evidence that was
Sorry,
passed
but
out.
I need to come to the
No, no,
podium.
I'll do that. Here I come. I had no copies of the evidence that was passed out to you guys. I have no idea what was in there. First time I've seen the photographs and everything else. And it's a shame. It's not the way it should be done.
Nothing happened.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, to rescind resolution 22-2019 that appointed Mr. Charles Ryan to the Board of Adjustments.
Is there discussion?
Never dies for lack of a motion.
Motion died, lack of a motion.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
All right, move on to resolutions, amend administrative fees, adding road improvements waiver, application fee, resolution 02-2020. Please read by title only.
A resolution of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, pertaining to the amendment of administrative and permit fees required to be established by various ordinances of the Town of Malabar, providing for an application fee.
To name and use street.
Well, yeah, that's.
Damn straight.
Providing for application fee when requesting a land use decision and/or application fee when requesting, when action not otherwise covered by the administrative fee schedule with regards to land development matters. Providing for repeal or resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith. Providing for severability and providing for an effective date. There's some added sections in there that don't really need to be in there. They're not harming it, but they're not.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 02-2020.
I'll make that motion.
was the second?
Scardino.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Ball.
Aye.
Councilmember Vale.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivet is excused. Councilmember Scardino.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
Thank you. Move on to adopt Resolution 03-2020, supporting the 2020 census. Please read by title only.
A resolution of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, supporting the 2020 census, providing for commitment to support the goals and ideals of the 2020 census, committing to encourage participation by citizens and assistance to census takers, and providing an effective date.
I'll entertain a motion for approval of 03-2020.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
It says there's gonna be a county committee meeting later this week.
Yeah, on the 5th. Anyone like to,
I think I might like to go to that.
okay. Richard and I are going to be going, but if you'd like to be the committee member representing Malabar, we'd love that. But, I mean,
That would be
this is
great.
like the first, it really kicks in, this has been ongoing for about 18 months, but it really kicks in this time of, it's my second census involvement. So.
Fifth.
Yeah, but it's my second. I was around here for the 2010.
I have a question if you're going to that.
Yeah.
Amanda Wilhelm is hired by the United Way, and what's that got to do with the census?
I don't know. That's
That's
why
why
I
I'm asking you that
Yeah.
question. Please
Yeah.
find that out for us.
Well, it's interested parties.
Yes.
And so, as an American citizen, I would imagine anybody can participate.
Yeah, I'm just,
So,
it says hired by.
hired by.
The United Way is hiring somebody to help with the census? Just, if you're going, please
Yeah.
ask.
Okay, all right, Brandon, I will.
All right, any other discussion? We'll do a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Councilmember Ball.
Aye.
Councilmember Vale.
Aye.
Councilmember Rivet is excused. Councilmember Scardino.
Aye.
Councilmember White.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
All right, move on to adopt Resolution 04-2020, authorizing loan application. Please read by title only.
The resolution of the Town of Malabar, Brevard County, Florida, relating to the State Revolving Fund Loan Program, making findings, authorizing the loan application, authorizing the loan agreement, establishing pledged revenues, designating authorized representatives, providing assurances, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt Resolution 04-2020.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to, Todd, you probably know some of this, right? Okay. Now, I understand that there's a chance that even the principal might be forgiven. But if not, what are we talking about as far as the yearly cost? It's hard to say, huh?
Yeah, if it should come to something like that, then it's usually a multi-year thing that's worked out and it comes out of the stormwater revenues. So it would be monies that we are already budgeting, so we would just designate those for the repayment rather than a project, okay? We're going on the positive thing that this will be a forgiven one because most of the small communities, they are forgiven. And the packet that I sent out, it says agency, affected agencies notification. You see the evidence in there where when they go, the legislative committees go through their actions, they make those recommendations to forgive the principal.
And this is necessary for our master plan?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have to pay for it regardless.
Yes.
I am kind of interested, you're saying question. What is those numbers we're kind of talking about? Are we in the tens of thousands or the hundreds of thousands?
It's 190,000.
190,000, so,
That's what we budgeted.
okay, so we're making a decision of, you know, of a fair consequence if it's not forgiven.
Absolutely. And if it's not forgiven, we would pay it back with the stormwater.
Correct.
Those
But-
revenues would be, over what period of time?
You work that out, but,
we also know without a master plan, you can't get a system.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's
It's a win-win.
the devil in the details.
Right.
Yeah.
I just,
Okay. I just wanted to ask this question.
And this is just kind of housekeeping, because before it can go on to the legislature in the body with this bill, it needs to show that every one of the communities that has submitted for a project and requested funding has their legislative body behind it. So, if you look in your budgets that you got, you'll see that under the revenue 3895,000, that's where we had put the 190,000 from the DEP revolving fund loan, hoping that it would be approved.
All right. We'll do a roll call vote.
Okay. Councilmember Ball?
aye.
Councilmember Vale?
Aye.
Councilmember Rivet is excused. Councilmember Scardino?
Aye.
Councilmember White?
Aye.
Motion carried 4-0.
Okay, move on to discussion, amend code to provide for outside storage in commercial, is this?
Yeah, I just
outside
wanted to
commercial
kind of
area?
You want me to
brief you on it and just,
Oh, I'm sorry,
You want me to stick around for that, or do you want to? It's fine.
I think you can go.
Debbie?
okay, it should take.
Okay, just a couple minutes.
Okay, I'll just,
All right.
Thank you.
just double time.
Similar to what we came across recently when we asked you to consider changing the conditional to a permitted use in CG. We have 3 parcels back here in this area that really aren't being developed, and then we further tied them up by saying you have to have access off West Railroad Avenue, and we don't. So you guys agreed, and we changed that code. This is a similar one where we have put a condition on CG where we can't have extensive outside storage. And yet, if you look at any area that's zoned CG, we have extensive outside storage. And how it happened, we don't know. It morphed into it, you know, it happened overnight. It happened when nobody was looking. It happened when nobody wanted to do code enforcement. But it's, so now we have a situation where somebody wants to expand their existing business, and it's going to require extensive outside storage. We cannot accept the site plan application which they provided as a commercial project with the corresponding application fee to cover the review. And our attorney says you cannot accept a site plan application for something that's not permitted in CG. So we started looking at it, it's like we don't want to beat up everybody around here. There aren't a lot of businesses that want to develop in this area. And perhaps we want to consider modifying again what we provide in CG. And Carl drafted up a real good ordinance that would amend our existing code that would put restrictions on that extensive outside storage, but at least would provide a alternative for this applicant. And we wanted to kind of feel you out on this because it would next go to P&Z for their discussion and recommendation. He's drafted it up. I didn't provide it to you at this time because Matt really hasn't had a chance to look at it yet.
So we're not looking at the storage of, abandoned refrigerators and stuff like that. We're focusing on vehicles, boats and trailers, those kinds of things, in specified, parking spaces. Again, we're not talking about piling junk outside, because that violates the code, but, expanding it.
The outside storage